Tonight, investigators were back at the home of Kelsey Berreth, the mother missing from Woodland Park since Thanksgiving. Police and agents with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation were seen going in and out of that house this evening. But if investigators are close to a break in this case, they're not talking about it.
9 News reporter Jordan Chavez is in Woodland Park tonight.
Good evening, Kristen and Kyle. Yeah, police put out a news release saying that Kelsey's still missing and there are no arrests in her disappearance. The only new activity really down here was the sight of investigators entering and leaving Kelsey's home. They left with brown bags, but they didn't say what they took. Now, an evidence response team was also seen leaving the police station earlier this evening. That's where we are. Woodland Park Police, they did again in that news release tonight say they're following new information that comes in daily and they're making progress, but it's not clear exactly what that means. Now, today marks day 28 since Kelsey's disappearance. She was last seen shopping at a Safeway with her 1-year-old daughter, not far from where we are now. Investigators say that her fiance, Patrick Frazee, told them he did see Kelsey later that day when he went to pick up their daughter, and investigators actually searched his property earlier, or actually last week, and they wrapped that search up over the weekend with no findings or anything. Kyle, Kristen?
It certainly looks like something's shifting, something's changing with that activity. All right, Jordan, thank you.